A few months ago, the chief business officer of a very large multinational IT services company posed me an interesting challenge. He said, before my team goes through the story powered sales training, teach them how to understand what they need to communicate. Essentially, he was saying that before teaching them how to use storytelling in client conversations, I need to teach them to understand what the story should be all about. Now, I thought that was obvious. Then he explained the challenge. He said, let me give you an example. When meeting an e-commerce client, some of my team believe that they are selling a software package. Some of them believe that they are selling a solution to reduce cart abandonment. And some believe that they are selling to increase the revenue of the e-commerce company. While discussing this, I remembered two related points of view from two professors at Harvard University. The first was Professor Theodore Levitt, who made the famous statement, people don't want to buy a quarter-inch drill. They want a quarter-inch hole, which was taken forward by Professor Clay Christensen with the concept of jobs to be done. He said that consumers were not buying a product or service, but hiring a solution to get a job done. Today, I'm going to share the story Clay Christensen shared to explain the jobs to be done philosophy. Hi, welcome back to Stories at Work, a series where I share real stories from across the world that you can use when you want to drive home a business point. Our website, storyworks.in, already has over 100 stories, and we are adding one every week. Let's start today's story. Professor Clay Christensen, the late professor at Harvard University, said every day jobs arise in our lives. And when these jobs arise, we need to find a way to get the job done. When a company understands what exactly the job is, they are able to design a solution that helps to get the job done perfectly. To demonstrate this, Professor Christensen shared the story of the milkshake. Many years ago, McDonald's was trying to decide how to improve the sale of milkshakes. Now, like every other consumer product company, McDonald's knew exactly who the quintessential milkshake consumer was, and they did a lot of market research with these consumers. They got together people who represented quintessential milkshake consumers and asked them to provide clear guidance of what to do with the product in order to improve it. Now, like any of us, these consumers had their point of view about what McDonald's should do with their milkshakes to improve sales. However, when McDonald's used these inputs to improve their product, it had no impact on sales whatsoever. That's when they approached Professor Clay Christensen for help. Now, Professor Christensen knew that what they needed to understand was what job do people need to get done when they go to McDonald's to hire a milkshake. So one day, one of his colleagues stood in a McDonald's restaurant for 18 hours and took copious notes on each of the customers or consumers that were coming to buy milkshakes. What time did the person buy the milkshake? What was he wearing? Was he alone or was he in a group? Did he buy anything else? Or did they just buy a milkshake? Did he have the milkshake at the restaurant, or did he do a takeaway and then get into his car and drive off with the milkshake? At the end of 18 hours of observation, what they found was about 50% of the customers who bought milkshakes bought them before 8:30 in the morning. It was the only thing they bought, and they were always alone, and they always got into the car with the milkshake and drove off. The team then decided to go back to the restaurant the next day. This time, they positioned themselves outside the restaurant, and as people came out of the restaurant, they essentially, in the language that the consumers could understand, Professor Christensen's team asked them, what is the job that you are trying to do that made you come to the McDonald's and hire a milkshake? Now, obviously, the consumers were struggling to answer that question, hire a milkshake. So the team helped them by saying, okay, think about the last time you were in the same situation, needing to get the same job done. And you didn't come here to hire a milkshake. What did you hire for the job instead? That's when the consumers understood. And what the consumers said is that they almost always, all of them, almost always had the same job to do, which is that they had a long, boring drive to work and they needed something to keep them occupied. Also, they knew that by the time they got to work and started working, by about 10:30 they would be hungry. So it'll be nice to have something heavy that stays in the stomach. When they were asked what was the other solutions people hired to do to get the job of accompanying someone during the long drive and making sure that the stuff stays heavy in the bottom of the stomach at 10 o'clock, one person said, I once hired a banana to do the job, but take my word for it, never hire bananas. They're gone in less than a minute and I'm hungry by 7:30. Another guy sheepishly smiled and said, please promise not to tell my wife, but there are times I've hired a donut to get the job done. But they don't actually do the job well. Crumbs fall all over my clothes and the sugar powder is sticky and that gets onto the steering wheel. Another guy said, I sometimes get bagels to get the job done, but bagels are dry and tasteless. And I have to steer the car with my knees while I'm putting the cream cheese on it. And if the phone then rings, then I have 3 problems and 2 hands. Now, another guy said, I once hired a Snickers bar to do the job, but I felt so guilty that I didn't hire the Snickers bars again. But all of them said, let me tell you, when I have this job to be done and I come here to McDonald's and hire the milkshakes, it is so viscous that it takes me a long time to suck it up with this thin straw. Now, who cares what the ingredients are? I just know that it is sitting in my stomach all morning and I don't feel very hungry. And guess what? It also fits very nicely into my cup holder. So it turns out that the milkshake does a better job than any of its competitors. But the competitors are not Burger King milkshakes. It's bananas, donuts, bagels, and Snickers. Now, when a product team understands this, they can design the product better. Of course, it would be a fantastic story if I could finish by saying McDonald's used the inputs from Professor Christensen's study and saw a 10-fold increase in milkshake sales. I can't because I haven't found that anywhere on the net, the final results of the study. But I think it's a beautiful example to explain what the concept of jobs to be done is. What a story. Now, I'd like all of you here who are in the business of selling something, maybe selling a product or selling a service, to first think about who is your real consumer? Who is looking to get the job done? It's never the guy in procurement or the CEO of the company. It's the person who's losing sleep because he can't get his job done. Then understand what exactly is the job that the person needs to get done. Like remember, the milkshake was not just about proteins, etc. It was about accompanying for a long drive and sitting well in the stomach. When you understand that, you'll be very easily be able to find what is the best product or service that you can give that person to get their job done. And that way, they'll fire the current product they're using and hire yours. I hope this story was helpful. And if it was, then you'll find many, many more on our website, storyworks.in. See you next week. Bye for now.